Hi, I'm Nick Gibson. I'm a reporter with the Spokesman-Review, and I'm here with two representatives of the Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency, Lisa Woodard, who handles comms and outreach, and then April Westby, who is the executive director. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. Just to get going, I think it'd be best if we just kind of start with an explainer of what the agency is and the kind of work they handle.
You bet.
Yeah.
So our work began in 1969, and basically we are the local air quality agency that administers rules and regulations related to stationary sources. So in our work to improve air quality, we work with residents and businesses, and we implement programs and services that basically improve air quality. Some of our programs include air quality monitoring. We have a network of monitors throughout our county. And then we also have business permitting, registration. We inspect facilities. We also do education and outreach with youth. And we also implement asbestos programs as well.
Okay. So kind of abatement, and I just read about the vermiculite site on Maxwell and Maple. And I know when they tore those buildings down, it's usually what you guys go in and
yeah, we're
help with
involved
that.
in the renovation and demolition of activities.
Okay.
Because that is when asbestos fibers are released into the air and pose a health threat.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that was just fresh in mind for me. I have been keeping my eye on that property.
And our work is throughout Spokane County.
Yeah.
So we are governed by a local board of directors of elected officials that represent our small cities and towns, our county, and our two largest cities.
Okay, so they each kind of have a representative on that board?
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
and that's all set up through the Clean Air Act.
Oh, awesome. So is it federal and state regulations that you guys are?
Yes, and that's something we get asked quite a bit, is how
Okay.
we kind of fit in. Because we're not a city or county department, we're kind of our own entity, kind of like a library district or a transit district.
Mm-hmm.
So we are, but we serve the county. And how it works, the hierarchy of air quality management is a lot starts at the EPA level, and then we have state, and then we have local.
Okay.
Interestingly, we were formed before the EPA. So our state,
I was gonna say,
yeah, our state started its work before EPA was actually formed.
All right. Well, kind of going back to when the Clean Air Agency got off the ground, that's kind of one of the reasons we're here talking today. What can you tell me about this major milestone that the region just recently reached?
Yeah, so to talk about what happened this late this year, we want to go back in time a little bit and kind of set the stage. So in our agency, as I mentioned, was formed in the late 60s. And then in the 70s and 80s, EPA began to set clean air standards. So it actually 55 years ago this December, the Federal Clean Air Act was signed. And that set forth some actions that included setting national ambient air quality standards for certain pollutants.
Okay.
Health-based standards. So two of those pollutants, Spokane has had a historically trouble meeting, and that's carbon monoxide and particulate matter. So when we did not meet those standards in the 80s and 90s, we were put on a list of cities that needed to get some actions taken so that we could come into attainment, so that we could meet those clean air standards. So in 2005, after many years of work, our area was deemed by EPA to be in compliance of those two standards. And then what that did is that set forth a 20-year maintenance period required by EPA, and that is what has just ended, that 20-year maintenance period.
Okay. And just from doing my homework and some prior reporting in the Spokesman-Review, it seems like the last time we were over kind of the federal limits, so to speak, for carbon monoxide and then these fine particulates was in the 90s.
Yes.
We reached attainment in 2005. So what has kind of been the work for the last 20 years? What does that maintenance period kind of look like?
Well, a lot of the programs that we put forth in our maintenance plan are programs that still continue. So they're programs that got us into attainment to begin with. For example, part of our non-attainment issue was we had very heavy snowfall in the winter with a lot of traction sand. When that snow melted and the streets weren't readily cleaned, that traction sand was ground down and ended up in the air. And that caused a few exceedances in the early 90s. So working with city, county to improve street cleaning and maintenance programs, using a different type of traction sand that's harder, that doesn't break down as easily, that's washed first, and then using that in conjunction with chemical liquid de-icing. So that's just one example of an activity that got us into attainment that is continuing today.
Okay.
Other examples would be our work with businesses, thinking of some of the other PM 2.5 things that we did.
There's been some work with some of the agriculture operations in the area to change how they were doing their tilling practices and their planting practices, so there wasn't a lot of windblown dust coming into our area. I think with CO, one of the big things is, car technology, which we can't really take credit for, but, the car technology from the 90s is huge. We're cars are far less polluting than they were. And I think also some of our work with SRTC, SRTC working with us, the Spokane Regional Transportation Council, in some of their work with traffic flows and making sure that there's not a lot of idling cars in some of the more congested areas.
Yeah.
And one of the other programs with carbon monoxide that helped is we introduced a wintertime oxygenated fuel program. And then when car technology caught up, that program sunsetted out. So it did its job for 5 years. It helped get us into attainment with the CO standard, and then the car technology kind of took it from there.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would mention with PM10 is we also worked on wood heating. Wood heating is a fairly large source of particle pollution. And cleaner stoves, again, technology. Cleaner burning stoves, changing out some of the older stoves. That's something that we continue to do today. And then also outdoor burning has been phased out in the urbanized areas for just as a disposal method.
Yeah, I just from trying to get up to speed on things, because I am a transplant to this area, it seems like people's habits can have a big impact on us reaching this satisfactory level in 2005 and then just maintaining those over the last 20 years. So is that things like picking good fuel sources to heat in the winter? What are some of the other kind of examples of habit changes that help? Yeah.
Thank you. And we do rely on citizens' involvement, because 80% of our pollution is caused by our everyday habits. So how we choose to drive. Are we going to combine our errands? Are we going to try to get to work a different way? Maybe one day a week even would help. So I think a lot of those activities combined can make a difference. It's hard sometimes to think that your one action is going to make a difference, but collectively, as we've seen in so many environmental movements, collectively our actions do add up.
Yeah.
Part of it is also if you're in an area where you can still burn yard and garden debris, are there other alternatives? We work with fire districts to promote alternatives. Held several chipping events over the years where residents could bring their yard debris and have it chipped and disposed of rather than burning. Material that's generated on your residential property is perfect material to compost in your own backyard. So those kinds of changes definitely help.
Well, and I think about our green bins too, that the city puts out.
Yeah.
You guys shared that you have been with the agency a while now. Have you noticed kind of these differences when you're driving around town or just when you're out in the community? Does it feel like a different Spokane than, say 30, 40 years ago?
Definitely,
I think so.
Yeah. I would say when we started, there was, we were in the early to mid 90s, and there was just a lot of concern about this label that could potentially set us back, and that label being the label from EPA being a serious non-attainment area. And what's that going to do for business? Or business is going to want to move into this area. So it was a lot of education and working with business communities, making presentations throughout the community about what does this really mean? It means that it puts us on a timeline and provides funding so that we can address the issues that are causing poor air quality and that we can move forward as a community. And so there was a lot of energy. I remember the days with Pat Mummy, county commissioner at the time, that got Clear the Air Spokane started in the early 90s. We had some educational campaigns and really wanting to get the business and the community behind moving forward and addressing our air pollution problems.
Yeah.
I think a lot more people, when you're out in the community, they're aware of what the AQI, the Air Quality Index, is, which is, our main way to communicate the air quality, on our website, so people can know what the levels are. And I think, you hear people now, you see on social media, people just talking about the AQI like it's an everyday term. So that is definitely a huge change, I would say, people's awareness of just air quality. And I think just, some of it is the younger generation, I think, is a lot more concerned and a lot more interested in learning about our environment, our air, and what they can do to, lessen their impact.
Yeah. Well,
and I hate to say it, but wildfire smoke was kind of the driving force of having people pay attention more to the air quality index, right?
Yeah.
Because we had this period of 15, from 2005 when we officially came into attainment to 2012 when we had our first wildfire smoke impacts. We had those years where just air quality wasn't top of mind. If you don't see it, you don't think about it.
Yeah.
Unless it's very visible, it's something that's really hard to grasp.
Yeah.
And when we started having those wildfire smoke impacts and our website crashed and people were coming to check what the air quality was, and we really saw a change in the tide in terms of people being aware of our air's not clean anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Or I have a scratchy throat today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or,
what could be
our
contributing?
soccer tournament is canceled,
Yes.
or our high school
Yeah.
team can't play football because of the air quality. So I think when it starts to impact people's lives, that's really when they start to pay attention.
Yeah. No, and that's one of the things I was hoping to tease out today, both for my own benefit and our readers, is so we're talking about, PM10s, these kinds of this larger umbrella of particulate matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
But inside that is PM 2.5, and that's kind of our concern when we're talking about wildfire smoke, right?
Right.
Yes. And the PM 2.5 standard was established in 1997.
Okay.
And so, after EPA was looking at the health effects, they realized that, it's the smaller particles or their body of science. They convene a group of scientists and people that represent different areas, and they review the standards every 5 years.
Okay.
And so the idea was, or the thought was at that time, is that yes, PM10 is a health concern, but within that is an even smaller combustion particle that enters the body more readily, and we need to set a standard for that. And so in 97, the 2.5 standard came about. And so that is our key air quality issue today.
Yeah.
Is that fine particle, which is mainly from combustion.
Right.
Yeah. These wildfire events. And well, with the region we live in, it's not something that we're strangers to. So I guess with kind of your ongoing work, there's obviously kind of these legacy programs, but since we're talking about wildfires, what are some of the things that you guys have introduced? I know we've covered, some of the HVAC upgrades and different programs for folks who kind of secure their houses, but could we talk a little bit more about
Sure.
How folks can improve their health when it comes to wildfire smoke?
You bet. And first, I'd just like to mention that when we first started having the air quality impacts such that we were failing to meet the 2.5 standard, we got a group together which included Spokane Regional Health District. They're a very big partner of ours because they are the public health agency with the public health expertise. And so we partner with them. We have a group called the Smoke Ready Spokane County Partners.
Okay.
And we convene monthly, April through September. And so part of our work is to educate the community on what does it mean to be smoke ready, because we know it's probably going to be coming. Last year we got lucky and didn't have any bad air days due to smoke. This year we ended up with 3 in September. But we know it's coming. We know it's just going to be a fact of life. And I've read studies where it's modeled out that probably we're going to be facing wildfire smoke impacts at least through 2050. So it's not something that's going to go away right away. And so one of the things that we do is we get out and we talk to people about how they can reduce their risk. And we do that in tangent with Health District because they are, again, the health experts.
Yeah.
So we talk about the biggest way that you can protect your health and the health of those in your care is to reduce your exposure to smoke. That seems like a no-brainer. We still see people outside active, biking, running, walking when we're not having, when we're in an unhealthy air day.
Yeah.
And there are cumulative effects. There's a lot of studies out linking high levels of particles to a lot of different diseases. And then over the course of our lifetime, our lungs are exposed to the world around us. Every minute, every moment. So we talk about reducing your exposure to begin with, which means go inside.
Yeah.
Well, the indoor air can often be as bad as the outdoor air. And so there's things inside that we can do to limit what's coming in we want to have good flow in our homes, right? Our homes were built, there was that period where, homes needed to be airtight. And then there was like, oh, no, that's not good. They can't be airtight. So we're going to have some natural flow in the home from the outdoor air. So, of course, the obvious things are doors and windows shut. If your home is weatherized well, then it's going to help as well. We talk about enhancing your air filtration, your air purifying with a HEPA portable air purifier, if you can swing that and get one of those. Those range anywhere from $200 to $300. We also have some do-it-yourself box fan filters that you can create using a furnace filter and a box fan. And those studies have shown those are quite effective.
I was going to say, I remember a couple years ago when we had those record-setting heat days, and then all of the smoke, and folks still needed to cool off, but wanted to set up their own little filters, and that seemed, I don't know, it seemed much more accessible to folks than some of these larger, more expensive modes.
Right. And it's always good to plan ahead, because if you wait till wildfire season, sometimes you can't find the fans or the filters, or the pricing may have changed.
Yeah.
So it's just good to plan ahead. And I think when I'm out at events talking to residents, a lot of them are getting this message. They're taking steps to protect their health during wildfire season.
Well, and I think it's the Gonzaga Climate Institute, has numbers that shows, the community supports, combating pollution, and they want to be able to enjoy these natural resources that we live in. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So as far as kind of the importance of the agency, that's one of the things I wanted to kind of stress for folks, and in that capacity, how do you guys kind of explain it when you're out around town, or you're at a parent-teacher conference, these kinds of things?
In terms of just our work?
Yeah.
Well, I think that people can appreciate good air quality, especially when it's not good.
Yeah.
And that oftentimes will raise the awareness of who we are and what we do, the importance of our work. Our state saw the importance of local air pollution agencies when they set up the option that counties can activate a local pollution control agency, so that it's done at a local level where elected officials and business leaders and the community understand what their local issues are. If we didn't exist, it would fall back to the state. So our board believes and supports us in that we will have a fully activated, funded agency that can address air pollution issues in our county.
And I think the fact that we live here too.
Yeah.
We're part of the community, and that we're able to work with our businesses. We have a really good rapport. I think we offer business assistance, so we, work with our regulated businesses, and I think that just offers a better, a better way to regulate them.
Yeah.
So they can come to our office and meet with us face to face. We go out to their business and meet with them. So I think that is definitely something that our board really supports, is the fact that we are here.
Yeah.
Living in the area that we serve.
Yeah, to be that local resource.
Right.
So with the changes at the kind of federal level this past year, has that presented any challenges for the Clean Air Agency? Has your work changed at all, or?
Well, some of it's still a little bit up in the air.
Yeah.
No pun intended there.
Yeah.
But really, as Lisa has stated, we mostly are under the mandate of the State Clean Air Act. So we were created under the authority of the state. We do also implement some federal regulations, especially related to business. But mostly with us being under the state authority, we haven't seen too many changes.
Okay.
We don't have a lot of the large industry types that some of these federal regulations that are changing affect, such as, big power plants, refineries, that kind of thing. We don't have those types of facilities here in Spokane. So, while there are some changes happening, we haven't seen anything really dramatic at the local level.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the things I was hoping to tease out, because I am the local county reporter, but it's hard to track everything that's going on at the state and federal levels, and how that kind of all trickles down.
Yeah, and there's still, it's still all changing every day, every week.
Yeah.
So, not to say that is going to stay that way, but like I said, at this point, us being in Washington and under the state Clean Air Act, that still hasn't changed.
Okay. Well, is there anything that you guys wanted to make sure to touch on with folks, or just wanted to share with the readers while we're here today?
Well, a big part of why we wanted to push this out, this milestone, this final chapter in this journey, this 35-year-old journey, is if you're a newcomer to Spokane, fairly new, you may not appreciate from where we've come. And sometimes it's hard to really appreciate what you have if you don't look back and see where you've come. And so I think we think it's a good message to say, hey, we've worked together as a business community, as our citizens, our elected officials, to achieve great things in our community, to improve our air quality. And that means healthier lives. That means healthier, longer lives. And really, we're on the road to success. And then wildfire smoke decided to put a little twist in it. But, we can overachieve. We can overcome those issues as well. So by working together and doing our part, each person doing their part to help keep our air clean.
Yeah. Now, I mean, we talk a lot about regional collaboration. It seems like we're covering a new effort every day. So to be on the kind of end of one of these big projects, it is reassuring to see, as a transplant. April, is there anything that you wanted to be sure to touch on, or?
I think, just also, yes, we still do have these unhealthy days due to wildfire smoke. And, I think we all can appreciate that we hope that those are on the decline. And, it does seem the last couple years, they have been, and the severity of the impacts have not been as high. But, the one thing is we still do have good or moderate days of air quality 95% of the year. So, we really do most of the time have really great air here. And so I recognize how it's easy to just focus on the bad days. But, when you still look at the overall air quality, we do have people that come and say, wow, our air here is really great.
Yeah.
We're lucky.
Yeah. And it sounds like that's been through a lot of hard work. Yeah.
Yeah. I know Lisa and I kind of joke that, I've been at the agency 29 years, and Lisa's at
a little more than that,
a few more years. And this PM10 and CO non-attainment/maintenance issue has been something that has been an issue at our agency since the day we both started. So, I think we both recognize, this has been a 35-year journey that we've been on, and that it is, quite an achievement for it to be done.
Yeah. How long have you been in the director role?
Only about a year.
Okay.
So, I've been in the engineering department. I was the engineering manager for a number of years, and started off just as a staff level engineer, and so working with a lot of the businesses. That's kind of where I but, when you work for a small agency, you do end up wearing a lot of hats, which I think is one of the great things about our agency, that we get to do a lot of different things. And, I think one of the reasons why, I'll have people ask, how could you stay at the agency that long? And I say, well, it's because there's so much variety and there's so much change. Yeah. And really no 2 days are ever the same. So I think it's a really rewarding place to work. And, we work with a lot of really great people, and, you feel like your work is really making a difference.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. You beat me. I was gonna ask, what it is you enjoy about the job so much.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Lisa may have.
Oh, similar. And getting out in the community. We do a lot of programs at schools. Mm-hmm. We have a Kids Making Sense program right now where kids get handheld sensors and they can go out and measure the air quality around their school and their community. I used to be a little bit jealous when I would go to environmental education programs and they'd be testing the water. And I'm I can't test the air. And with the advent of these personal sensors, it's really opened up a lot of neat ways to interact with the community. And in fact, we've added sensors to our air monitoring network. We've added 10 SenseWAS sensors.
Okay.
So we have the regulatory monitors, and then we have the lower cost sensors to help kind of supplement our monitoring data.
Are those sensors relatively new?
Yeah, we added them last summer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I think I wrote about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did actually.
That jogs some memory.
So being out with the young kids too is just thrilling. They keep you energized, and they really enjoy learning about air quality and what they can do. So, and hopefully that message gets to parents.
No, I think it usually does trickle up.
I think so.
Like that. Well, I guess just to kind of wrap things up, how can folks get in touch? Where can they, access some of these resources and
You bet.
ask their questions.
You bet. We would love it. We have a pretty thorough website, and on our website we also have links to our social media accounts. So I would say, give us a follow on Facebook. We're also on Instagram. We have videos on YouTube. And we do tweet, particularly during periods of poor air quality. So you can find us on social and follow us that way. Our website, you can subscribe to email listservs we have. We have 5 or 6 different listservs. We do a quarterly newsletter. We have burn restriction emails. You can sign up and get an email when the burn restrictions issued or lifted.
Okay.
And business compliance newsletters. And so, a lot of ways to get in touch.
Okay. Well, good to hear. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add?
I think you've done a great job.
Oh, well, thanks, guys.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you coming in today.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thanks for having us.
Of course.